welcome to another episode of Crystal Clear Moments, where we plunge into life-altering, mind-blowing, downright transformative moments of our guests and their lives. But today we're going to dig into my life. I've realized I really haven't told you my story and my crystal clear moments and how I even became a podcast host. And I just wanted to kind of dive into my moments and share my story and give you a glimpse into my world. So let me give you just some background of who I am and why this is important to me and why I am here on my personal journey. So just give you some background about me. You know, I spent, 20 some odd years in leadership, and, I was a fairly good leader. I was a great leader, actually. And I know that because I was given awards and, I won trips and I got accolades and I received, I had good reviews and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like really happy about what I was doing. I was just good at it. And I think sometimes when you're good at something, you will omit your happiness and your satisfaction because you're good at it. And I think I did that for a very long time in leadership. I mean, it was, I gained something from it. I grew, I was, of course, I made a lot of good money and that was a reward. And I eventually started looking at that part of my world, my space as school. I knew there was more for me in the world. I knew that. So I just, midway through my career, I started leaning into what I was doing and really becoming more authentic as a leader. And, we're talking leadership back when you were not to show up as yourself and people were not considered, capital. They were just considered, just to make profit. So your employees, they made money and that was that. But I always viewed people as, people that would show up to the office, they really counted on us to be there and to be good to them and honest and fair. So I say all of that to say that I was a different type of a leader. And I knew it. And some organizations loved me, and some did not at all. I never came in lukewarm. I was either hot or cold. And I knew I was a different leader. And the ways I was different was I valued people's opinion, and I wanted to know what my workers wanted. And I would go into leadership meetings, and I would be the one to raise the hand and say, well, did we ask the people who's doing the job what they thought? So I always knew I was different because I put people first. I looked at them, beyond just being, the bottom line to make money for the company. And I was really proud about that, but it was difficult times because, again, in the areas where they didn't like me, it was tough. But then I always knew, if they didn't like me and I wasn't being treated fairly and kind and valued, then I left, and I did. So I had quite a few jobs. Because I needed to feel whole in the workplace as a leader. I couldn't lead, couldn't lead broken. So that was my professional background. And the whole time I'm gathering information about me. I'm a working mom, I'm married, I have 2 sons. So I'm balancing this and I'm in this very demanding role. And again, like I said, I wasn't really happy. I was just doing it. And I know a lot of people, they work in organizations or places where they're just doing it and they're not really, it's not in their heart. But I didn't quite know what that looked like. I just knew that this wasn't it. So in the meantime, in between time, I just started learning. I'm a student in this space. So I entered everything I did as a student. So every learning opportunity they threw at me, I grabbed it. It didn't matter. I took all kind of training courses. I let corporate America teach me the game, and I embraced it. So fast forward to how I got, into, opening up my business. The parent company of Crystal Clear Moments is Crystal Clear Results. So, toward the end of my career, I decided, hey, I think I want to be a life coach. So I went and got certified as a life coach, which was life changing for me because that process allowed me to do some self coaching and iron out some personal wrinkles I had in my life, which was great because I don't think I would have been able to go to my next phase without ironing out my wrinkles. And what I mean by that is like doing some deep self work, what is in my way? What are my insecurities? What are the things I'm good at that I can strengthen? What are some of my baggage? Like some things that I'm dealing with maybe from childhood or some things I thought about myself that I believed it wasn't true. So I had to do the work and I did the work and I dug into myself. And yeah, it was a little uncomfortable, at first because, culturally we don't really dig into the work. But I was ready. And, I had support from my husband, my rock, my man, and my kids. At the time they were younger, but my sons always had my back. So I had a rock that was always surrounding me. So I felt safe to do me and jump out and, to work on me. And I did. And, in that process of working on Crystal and working on me, I get certified and I start practicing, my business and coaching and, learning about, being a life coach. I learned how to ask really good questions and how to dig deep and really strengthen my empathy space. And I really deepened my compassion and it really allowed me to explore that part of myself. My emotional, intelligent piece of me really grew in that process. So I looked at that certification as, not only a piece to add to my toolkit professionally, I think for me, it helped me grow as a person. And I still use those skills. I'm sure my family, they get tired of me, jumping into life coach Crystal and doing my thing. I'm sure my friends probably get tired of it too. I can't help it. But now it's part of me. It's in my DNA. It was probably already there. It's just strengthened it. So I was working in a company. The last company I was working for was a software company, and they hired me specifically to come in and bring leadership. And it was a group of, at that time, we would call millennials, and they worked from home. So they were virtual. And we're talking like 2014, back when this really wasn't as common, but in some industries they were common. I had no software experience. I pretty much always had sales, insurance, that type of background, but never software development. So I was excited to learn software development in that industry, and they hired me for leadership. So I come on board. I have people that are, working all over the world, 3 continents, all these different time zones, millennials. So it was a different group for me to manage, but what I was able to flow with and I was able to work. And then, one day they came to me and said, you're not a good fit. I was like, I'm not a good fit. You guys came to me for leadership. I've got all these accolades but you know what? Things happen for a reason. And I'll tell you why. When they told me that I wasn't a good fit, my ego, of course, was, bruised because I've never been told that before. But my ego was bruised and they never really could clearly tell me why. And I'm the kind of person, if you say something to me, I ask questions. So I was asking questions, trying to get to the root of why I no longer, you guys basically fired me. You don't want me here. And I was trying to get to the root of it, why? But we never could land it. We never could land that plane. And that was frustrating. It kind of made me look at them side-eye, but it frustrated me because I really never could walk away and say I wasn't good at X or they needed Y. I just never could get to it. But the reality of it is they didn't want me there. So fine. I stepped away. And I remember calling my husband. I was upset. I think he was maybe out of town traveling or something. And I told him, hey, what had happened. And he was just like, well, now it's time for you to start your business. I was like, whoa, you're right. So I come home, I look at my husband. I'm like, okay, this is time for me to start my business. He was like, yeah, we got you. We've been waiting for you to do this. See, the whole time I was contemplating launching my business and have been, my family was waiting for me to step into it. I was holding myself back. I was holding myself back because I thought I wasn't ready. I was holding myself back. I thought it would be too hard. I was holding myself back because I was thinking maybe financially, that we would plummet. But my husband told me, you know what, babe, I got us, I can hold us down, for a couple of years. And after that, I need you to start making some money, but, God is good because I was making money before then. Now, granted, I wasn't making the amount of money I was at the level of leadership that I walked away at a vice president level. No, but I was in that lane and I was getting business and I got contracts and, my business was growing. And let me tell you, I had no blueprint for this. I don't have anyone in my family that owns a business. I have a nephew that does, but nothing like what I do. I didn't have a reference. I didn't have a mentor. But I put myself out there and I dived into it and I really, really leaned on faith. I remember going to my church and telling my pastor what I was doing. And he made like an announcement at church, which I didn't expect him to do, but he did anyways. He said to everybody, the congregation, hey, Crystal's starting a business and her husband's going to have her back. And everybody clapped for him for having my back. And I remember a part of me was like, I tell you to tell everybody that. But the other part was like, you know what? My church got my back, and people would ask me how my business was doing. And, and I'm sharing this to say that I know there are people out there that are contemplating launching your business or whatever, writing a book, launching a business, whatever that's in you that you want to birth, and something is holding you back. But you've got it. You got to do it, right? It's your purpose. And I just want to encourage you that you step into it. I've always been just full with my life. I've always been joyful and funny and fun. And I've always loved life. But let me tell you, now I am in my purpose and I'm doing what I know I am supposed to do. I know my assignment here on earth and I feel like I'm in my lane trying I'm trying to get an A on my report card in my assignment here on earth. But it took me to demonstrate some courage and some faith. And I just want to encourage people to do that. I know one of my gifts is encouraging people. And I think, I've always known that, but it's really flourishes in my purpose. So when I work with organizations under Crystal Clear Results, I help leaders, lead their organization. I work with C-suite. I work with, director level. I work with HR leaders, people who lead people. And I cover various things. Of course, I lean really tight into leadership because that's what I do. That's what I was. I was a transformative leader. I didn't even know it. At the time, it wasn't even a name for it. I was just in my purpose, being my authentic self. I also help organizations in their diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging space, all of that, basically creating a culture of inclusion and whatever comes under that umbrella, strategic planning, supporting along training. I have a team. I have a person who works with me, my number one, trainer, Shay Woods. We partner. We do virtual. We do live. We do all of that. I also do soft skills training. We talk about, emotional intelligence. And, it's really funny because I just did a workshop for an organization pretty big, bullying in the workplace. Yeah, we do that too. So I'm sharing that because that's the parent company, Crystal Clear Results. That's my jam. I love it. That's my heart. That's what I do. But in the middle of that, this podcast piece came out. And about 2 years ago, God spoke to me and said, hey, you need to do a podcast. I need to do a podcast. I don't even know about no podcast. I love podcasts. I am an avid podcast listener. I listen to them all the time. I love them. So I was, of course, be honest, I was afraid of it. It just seems like so big. I just wrapped myself around my business. I just got that going. I'm already, I'm at 7 years in, great. flowing. I'm flourishing. My business is doing really, really well. I'm super grateful. Now you're telling me to do a podcast. Okay. I don't even know where to go with this. So I wasn't obedient and I didn't follow through immediately as I should have. So I sat on it and I allowed me to, not move forward. I didn't honor what it was I was supposed to. So I sat on it for about a year. And then in that space, I still was flourishing under my crystal clear results, but the whole time I could feel that tap like, you need to do this podcast. I'm like, so like what? What? Do this podcast on what? And then God was like, with people, there are people out there doing amazing things and they need a voice, they need a space, and they have moments. And these moments that they're going to share to everyone, to all of you, to me, all of us, is going to help someone else. And I'm a helper at heart. I like helping people. So it made sense to have, this podcast. I didn't want to make it complicated and deep and heavy. So Crystal Clear Moments was birthed on the fact that I want to give a space to people, everyday bosses that are out there doing it, that are living their purpose, and how they got there is these little crystal clear moments, these moments that happen in life. Maybe it's like for me was when they said, okay, Crystal, you're not a good fit. That was a moment. Maybe your moment is, you're not happy at work and you get a bad review. Okay, that could be your moment. Whatever your crystal clear moment. Maybe your moment happened when you were a child and you're still living it. So crystal clear moments is birthed through the fact that we have a world filled with people that have moments to share. And I feel really fortunate to host that and to bring that to life. So if you're interested in sharing your crystal clear moments, reach out to me at crystal@crystalblackwell.com and let's chat about it. I would love to feature you and have the world hear your crystal clear moments. We have so many. I'm super grateful and humbled to be in this space. It's a shared space. It's just my name on it, but it's a shared space. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you listeners for tuning in and sharing my podcast. Please continue to share. Please continue to like. Please leave some fun, fabulous comments. I love that. And thank you for supporting me. And again, Crystal Clear Moments is a podcast that is birthed, from a space of come and share. And I hope you got a glimpse of me and who I am. And as time goes on, I will let you into my life and into my space and get to know me. And we can share more crystal clear moments. Thank you. Talk to you soon.